excuse me. Clip me on, sir. Oh, it's very sensitive, one second. Is that better? So I use various bits of paper to create prints. Copy paper, Costco, very easy, very nice, takes a great print. This is rice paper. It has a smooth side and a rough side. I like to use the rough side.
Where do you get it?
This lot I got from Amazon, but you can also find it in art supply stores. This is deli paper, so the type of thing you wrap your sandwiches in. It's slightly waxed. And this I got from Amazon too. This is a 12 by 12 and it's a deli paper specifically for art. And tissue paper. This is from the dollar store. I did try the archival stuff for art and I found it didn't have the wet strength, it tore. So this one I quite like. And then this is a new thing, tea bag paper. You see it all the time on Facebook. People are posting that they're using tea bag paper for their jelly prints, and it actually does take a nice print, but like the tissue paper, it's quite delicate. It doesn't work so well on some of the jelly plates. These are my favourite. They are by Gelli brand, which is Gelli. Other plates I have are by Speedball, which is a printing company, and I find they, if you're not careful, will suck in your paper and then you can't get the paper off. But, so these are my favourites. And what I'm going to do first of all is the basic print. So I'm just going to put some colours down, which I would like for my background. So the background here is varied colours, mostly greens, a little bit of neutral and a little bit of dark. So I'm just going to do some to simulate that.
Are these acrylics?
These are acrylics. I like to use fluid acrylics. This is a soft body acrylic. You can use the tube acrylics. Watercolour tends to bead up. So that's why I don't use watercolour. And the acrylics are just so nice and bright. So we're just going to put a chunk of paint down and we'll see what comes out of it. Yeah. So I've got some yellow, and then I'll add. Now this is, they call it red oxide. And what it does when you mix it, put a bit more here and there, with the phthalo blue, that'll make a black. I don't use black. And phthalo blue being so strong, I don't use much of that either. So all I'm going to do is I'll have my paper ready. And you don't need much pressure. You don't want to use a lot of pressure. And I've got too much red. Let's take some of this off. So this one's going to come out quite red, and that doesn't matter. I'm not going to use this paper for this painting, but I'm sure it'll be useful somewhere. And that's the joy. If you don't use it straight away, it'll keep, and then you can use it somewhere else. So I'm going to put this down and then just let the paper take up that paint. And why I do this is, this bit is fun. You get to play with the paint, and yet, and there we go, it comes right off onto your paper, just like that. And what you get is, a lot of the time when you paint with acrylic, it turns darker. And you don't notice that straight away. It's not until the paint cures a bit that you can see it's gone darker. But the joy of the jelly print is, by the time you get to using the print, it's cured. That colour isn't going to change. What you see is what you get. And so it makes it very easy to get your values right, your colours right. Because you can say, okay, this isn't suitable for this, I'll use it for something else. And then you just let it sit and cure. for an hour or so before you can use it in your collage. And the other thing I want to show you with the Gelli is how I do my layered prints. So to get the textures I want. So I'm going to put down some of this red oxide, saying as it's a bit more. There we go. And I'm going to roll it out, and I might need a bit more yet. I'm not putting much pressure. What I want is a thin layer, fairly even. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this paint off. And I've got bubble wrap. This is, I think it was originally paper. It's now mostly acrylic paint. And is everybody seeing this okay?
Yes.
Yeah. And can you see the lines that it's taking the paint off? Now the last one I like to use is this. So I don't use just one texture. I use multiple textures because then it doesn't look like any one thing. I just want texture, I don't want a specific texture. And so now I'm going to let this dry. And how I'm going to let this dry is use my fan. You can use a hairdryer on a cold setting. Don't use it on a hot setting, you'll melt your Gelli plate. But on a cold setting it works very well if you've got one that does a cold setting. We've got 3 hairdryers here at AAG, only one has the cold setting. They have low, but not cold. And this, because it's such a thin layer, it shouldn't take that long to dry.
And are you doing that just to get texture?
I'm doing this because now I'm going to put another layer down. And this will show, the other layer will show through this texture. And so what I'm going to use next is a light colour, this yellow. And that I'm just going to put some down.
Oh, it's bright.
Isn't it lovely? I love the brightness of this. This is a primary yellow and it's golden. Some of the colours I use, I don't use the good brands. I use a lot of the time the Michaels brand, and then before this dries, I'm going to take the print. But I'm going to let it sit here so it soaks through to what I put down the bottom. And as I was saying, I sometimes use the Michaels brands, Walmart's brands, because what they are is they're not as saturated, they're not as full of colour and they're not as transparent as the Goldens and the Liquitexes. And I find that makes for more natural colours a lot of the time in the flower paintings I do. In fact, that green, that red and green one, that's house paint. That is latex house paint. It was a challenge whereby we were given colours on a swatch, and I went and matched them in Home Depot and used those colours. And it worked quite nicely. And you could use those 2 colours in black and white. Well, I didn't use much black, but I had to use quite a bit of white here and there. So this has had a chance to get the gold, the yellow, the medium that's in the yellow goes through and latches onto the pattern that's underneath, and hopefully, yay, you can see.
I took it off.
Oh, it pulls the red.
Yeah.
Yes, it pulls the red too, and so you get this layered. And isn't that pretty?
Yeah.
And sometimes on a nice plate that behaves itself, you can get 3 layers, but I'm not trusting it this time.
Wow.
And the other way you can do it is by putting your colours down 1 layer at a time. So you would put what's going to be at the back. In this case, it would be the yellow. What I'm going to do is a mixture of quinacridone.
Do you want to walk those around?
Sure.
I can be Vanna.
Yay! I'm going to use a mixture of quinacridone Crimson and quinacridone burnt orange, which I just found out this week is discontinued. I am so upset. I love quinacridone burnt orange. It's one of my favourite colours, so I'm going to use this for the background.
Let's get a shot of you.
Okay, well I'm going to pick this up because we're going to do it the one layer at a time method. Okay.
Our camera isn't very good on the colors, so seeing them
So I'm just going to pull that up.
Pause, right? Yes. Yes, the smile. Thank you.
Alrighty, so what's a nice contrast? That would be an opaque. So I'm going to mix some green, and this is green gold. And I'm going to put some white on it so it can be opaque. You could also use Titan buff, something that's got opaque. And I'm going to mix these like this. And in fact, clean my roller off a bit better because we're getting some red in.
What green was that?
That is green gold. So for this, I'm going to make a pattern. And I'm just going to use the bubble. Oops, smooshed it a bit, but not to worry. And I'll use this as well. There. And then quickly, before it dries, I'm going to plonk this back on top.
So these are fluid acrylics?
These are mostly fluid acrylics, but you can use your heavy body, you can use your soft body acrylics. People have, you know, I started with fluid acrylics, and that is, Diana Cardi got me on the fluid acrylics together with Jean Peterson. When she came, it was a wonderful thing. So here, you just did it the other way around. You put the background down first and then picked up the pattern. So,
Wow,
that is jelly plating in a nutshell, and then the artistry is down to your choice of colours, your choice of textures. You can use markers, the acrylic markers, you can use stencils as masks. There's a lot of ways you can do things to create. Yes?
When you did the cactus, I haven't looked up close. Did you cut it out and glue it on?
Oh yes, this is the next section. So we are coming away from jelly plating now. I'm going to move my paints out of the way. So once you've got your papers and once they have cured, then we go on to making the collage. I glue with matte medium. Golden is 15 bucks for a bottle, a quarter this size. This one is 15 bucks for this size. So, and I bought this on Amazon. It's Handy Art Designer's palette, matte medium. And I like this because it doesn't yellow. Some of the other cheap matte mediums do yellow, and I've gone through a few. If you're gluing heavy paper, then you need a heavy gel medium. It's just got more sticking power. So I use brushes in various sizes to glue. So for this one, I've taped my thing down onto the back of a picture. And what I have done, because the background needs to be pushed back, I actually drew out my design and in fact what I've done is I've put the background down and then I put a layer of, I think this is tea bag paper, over the top. And I've also got my design drawn out. I've got some of the background put in. And now I'm going to just show you how I glue the rest. So I've cut out my papers. using these shapes as a guide. With this design, you don't do individual petals. You can do them as clumps. And so you can see I've got my clumps of petals. I've got the stalk here. Can you see that? Yes. Mm-hmm. And what you do is you glue from back to front. So with a landscape, you're starting at the horizon line. The sky is going from the horizon line up, and you may do one or more layers, but you still start from the horizon line, and then if you need something a slightly different color, you put another layer a little higher up, and then the top layer. And then the earth comes from the horizon line, and you can see that very well on the islands. The furthest islands were glued down, and you can see the nearer land is on top of them. So I'm going to start with this clump. It's the furthest back. Then we're going to go to this clump. Well, actually, we're going to start with the stalk and the green, and then go to that clump. So, and this shouldn't take long now. I've done the cutting out. It's the cutting out that takes time. A little cut for your matte medium, because otherwise you're wasting matte medium. Sue Hunter taught me that.
Melanie, you use scissors when you're cutting yours?
It depends. So it depends if I want a hard edge, a soft edge. This, I've mostly used scissors. I think I tore this edge because I wanted it a little softer. So it does depend. Things further away I may tear because you want that soft edge. Things that are close to the focal area, you want a harder edge. So scissors. I use big scissors because they're what I have. I'm cheap, I don't buy fancy scissors. And it's broken. But never mind. So, matte medium. This has done me, I think, about 6 paintings now. Something like that. Mostly smalls, but some big ones. And then what I have here, hiding, is a small dish of water, because you don't want your paintbrush to dry out. It's like working with acrylics for everything. You don't want that paintbrush to dry out because it will get hard, get glommed on there, and then you can't clean it. A piece of towel to dry off your paintbrush, and a piece of towel to pick up the excess matte medium. I like to use more matte medium than I need so that it'll spread out and get everything glued down, and then I mop up the excess. So we are going to start with the stalk, small brush. Make sure I know which way is up. As you can see, I put these things in the background down first, and some of them will get covered up, so this one's going over the top and going to there. And if it's not exactly like the pic photograph, that's fine, because it's more a way of expressing yourself than what is in the photograph. The photograph appeals to you, but it's how you handle the papers and how you get everything working together that's the important thing, not whether it looks exactly like the photograph. So, pop it down.
Melanie, you need to do both the underside and the top?
If it's a thick paper, then definitely. Or I will go to the gel medium, or both. But when it's copy paper or thinner, you don't need to. I just use enough matte medium in the first place. And then I'm going to go to the green. And that goes, if we look at the photograph, over here, So there's a bit that goes just here, it goes all the way across to there. So I just cut the whole thing out because the rest of it's going to get covered up. So there's my little bit there, and it goes all the way to there, so I make sure I know where I'm going. And you can see, I sometimes paint on both sides of the paper. Or make jelly prints on both sides of the paper, or this may even have been part of my braille paper. I use that too for collaging. It's still, sketch paper is good. Let's get it down. What I do is paint over the top to make sure that the glue comes out to the edges and that those edges get stuck down. And then again, a little bit of pressure just to make sure, but don't push too much because then it tends to move.
Melanie, do you have like drawers and drawers of like green paper and brown? That's
No.
what I'm afraid of.
What I have is this. This is all my paper. What I do is, a lot of the time, I will say, oh God, I got so much paper. And because I've been preparing for this workshop,
Yeah.
I've got a lot of paper because I've been having fun making all sorts of collages that you guys haven't seen yet. And so I've got a lot of paper left over, and I haven't sorted all of it out. But usually, once it gets that full, I go and have a sort out, and I will do some abstract collages where I've got groups of colours, and that's how I start using up the paper. I also use them for my Christmas cards, make a big square of collages, of a collage of small stuff, cut it up and put those on my Christmas cards. And that gets rid of a lot of the stuff. So now I'm going to go to this, come to Mama, this back bit. Because what we're doing is working from back to front. And this is quite a big piece. And I will go over, so I know exactly where it's going. And the other joy of working back to front is that as the layers of matte medium build up, so it, there we are. Are we there? Are we there yet? And it doesn't matter if it's not exactly where it's meant to be. So then it pushes back what's behind, and so you get a better sense of depth. Now, what I've done with these is I have layered some tea bag paper or some tissue paper over the top in places to create the illusion of shadows. It's not just the one layer of jelly print. There may be multiple layers of jelly print. And so then I'm moving on to this puppy, this one. That goes all the way to here. And as you can see, as things get put down, so the rest almost comes into focus. I'm just going to make sure that the edges have cover.
Melanie, I don't know if you already answered this question, but if you were to make a mistake, do you have to, if it's already dry, then you cover it and replace?
Yeah, just go over a bit more. Or there's nothing that says, if you don't like what you've done, you can paint over it. You can, I mean, Zabriskie Point is one of mine. And it did well in some exhibitions. And that one, it started as a jelly print, but it didn't last that way. Then we went to, I actually ended up using palette knife on it. And yeah, I really liked how it turned out. Now we're there. We are there. Happy? Yes. I talk. I talk when I'm painting. I talk when I'm doing practically anything. I'm still not sure that's in the right place, but not to worry.
You sing too.
I do. I'm sorry, it annoys people.
No, it's okay. I wasn't saying that.
So we're just going to go around and do the outside first.
Watch out.
There you are. So now you're hiding some of your green, and it has pushed back, and it sometimes wrinkles. Doesn't matter. Adds to the adds to the illusion to a certain extent. Oh, got a great big glob of stuff there. This one goes on next. There's the big stuff. It's all about working out what goes first and what goes second, and then we're there. That's where we are. Come on down. There. Make sure I've got the edges. How are we doing? We're doing good. We're going to finish in record time. You're going to be mad at me.
This is beautiful.
Yeah.
This one, I think, is. Let me just see. Check my. Yes. So now you're beginning to see how. How things look being layered up one on top of the other, and you can see things beginning to come forward. This goes all the way over to there, and I might not have it exactly where it's meant to be. Good enough. Right, let's stop, take a deep breath, maybe get some more matte medium. Any questions?
I think this is pretty cool.
It's you know, making the jelly prints is just so much fun. And then this is concentration, but it's still interesting to see how it all fits together. And if you've made the choices in the colours, in the values, it does work so nicely together. So the next thing is the centre part. If you look, you can see that there's this bit, which I haven't done yet, but that comes on top of the centre part. So we're going with this big bit first.
Melanie, do you have to color your tissue paper, or do you just use whatever colored tissue paper?
With the tissue paper that I use to push this back, it's just a white. Because when you use the matte medium, it goes translucent. And that's what I like. If you use a coloured tissue paper, that's not legal for AWA shows. Because you have to colour your own white paper. Okay, let's see. This goes right here. Oops. Yes, that's right. That's right. Because we still have this bit to go. Down the half. That's it. This is a little stiff because it's 3 papers all in one. So I may have to give it quite a bit of encouragement. There we go, come on. Fine, that's why we brought the heavy gel. Come to Mama. mix your mediums. It's not a biggie. And this will stick it down a bit better.
Did you say that was 3 papers that you?
It's, I mean, I did a one like that, and then I did a, so this is this paper as a base, this paper as a secondary, this paper on top. So I've glued them all together. And then that's it, heavy gel wins the day. And I may have to use that for the butterfly too.
You glued them with the matte medium?
And I glued them all together with matte medium. I'm going to abandon that one, go for another. Just take off the excess, make sure everything's got enough to stick. I think we're doing good. Okay. Then we go for this little doohickey here. Back to my matte medium. And that goes across here. Just like that, yes. Very much, yes. Beautiful. And wait for the pièce de résistance. It is all the way from there to there. And again, it's a black butterfly. I don't like black. So make sure you don't have too much. It got to be blue and turquoise. And let's see, this goes from, I need to get a bit more there.
Is that also then layered pieces?
It's basically 2 layers. This has the blue and dark blue underlayer, and then the white on top. And that's all. It's just got the 2 layers. So
you cut the dark strips, or did you paint them on?
Actually, I cut the whole shape of the butterfly out of the blue turquoise, and then these bits I cut from a piece of, I think this was tea bag paper that had some white but with lots of blank areas. So it's got white, but it's quite translucent. And let's see, how's it looking?
It's good.
Really good.
Then we got a voila.
Wow. I have a question.
Yeah.
If we come to your workshop on Saturday, we need to buy a jelly plate or share one with a partner?
I have a few extra jelly plates, and AAG said that I can use the 5x7 jelly plates that they have for the veterans. So everyone can borrow a jelly plate. It may not be a big jelly plate, but it will be a jelly plate. There's other ways of painting your paper as well. You can paint them directly, you can stencil. There's lots of ways to make your collage paper. It's just I like to do the jelly plate.
Supplies that we would need to bring if we decide to come on Saturday would be different kinds of paper.
And I have plenty of that too.
Okay, what?
You may need some tracing paper for your shapes.
Okay.
And I have that too. Paint, acrylic paint. You may want a brush and a paper plate to mix if you want your colours beautifully mixed. You'll need a cheap brush
And matte medium.
and matte medium, although I can lend you some of that too. There's not much you need. Bubble wrap if you have some. I got a whole roll.
You're adding to the sales pitch right now.
Brayer.
Okay.
A soft brayer. A hard brayer will do in a pinch, but a soft brayer. I've only got 2 brayers, so you do need a brayer.
Where do you buy the brayer on the last minute?
Arizona Art Supply. Easy peasy. I like the fan. You don't have to have the fan. You can just wait for it to get how you like. But I like the fan. But sometimes just having a drink of water and walking around to see how everybody else is doing is fun too.
So we just want everybody to know that there's still room in Melanie's workshop on Saturday
From 9 till 4, we get a break for lunch, and we'll all have a very good time.
Now, there's
I did earlier.
Wow,
So this one came out rather nice, so I'm quite pleased with
yeah. Cool.
practice.
I like those 2 trees.
Really nice, Melanie.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I can't wait.